The atmosphere is coiling up and preparing for its next major move, bringing the potential for gorilla sized hail, strong long track tornadoes, damaging winds, and a major bizarre weather pattern that's going to be setting up towards the end of the month. We're going to start off with Thursday across the Central Plains. Now, if you are in these areas, please be prepared on Thursday as we have an enhanced risk for Kansas and Oklahoma, and also a slight risk up here for Nebraska, Kansas, and South Dakota. So, big time risk for Thursday. This is the area we want to watch first here. And we're going to go over that in the video here. And we can see a 10% hatched here by the SPC. That is indicating a decent chance of a couple of strong tornadoes, potentially long tracked ones, especially when you see that hatching right there. And so we're going to have to keep a very close eye if you're in central Kansas and southern Kansas and central Oklahoma. And then if you look at the hail, it's also enhanced as well with a 30% hatch. So the SPC was mentioning 2+ inch hail. I think that's getting close to gorilla size hail territory. I'm not sure the exact definition of that, but it's giant hail nonetheless. And then you can see the damaging wind threat a little bit lower. It's going to be more of a supercell threat on Thursday. And then Friday, we've got another risk here in Iowa, Nebraska, maybe even northeast Kansas from what I was looking at. And then also the southern parts of Texas. So let's crack right into the forecast. First, looking at those severe weather threats coming up for the Central Plains Thursday. Here's this bowling ball trough that I've been talking about. Look at this thing right here. This is a little tiny piece of energy that's shunted off the jet stream. It's broken off like a drill bit, and it's going to be swinging into Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska through the day Thursday. So you can see it come right on out. It's been hanging out in the western Rockies, getting some snowboarding, whatever's left out there. There actually might be some more snow, and we'll go over that as well in a second. But finally, this thing ejects, and it's going to bring this southwesterly divergent flow. And when that happens, when it does that, you're going to get lift at the surface. And that lift comes up, runs into this thing, causes those thunderstorms and that precipitation to blow away from the updraft. So you're going to get this corkscrew thunderstorms to develop. As we head towards Friday here, this is Friday around 1 p.m. This comes up in Nebraska and Iowa, and that's going to be the focus for thunderstorms within that region. And we're going to look at the actual hazards here. Now, this is the dry line. Look at this thing. This is very impressive. So this brown area you see here, those are dry conditions, lower dew points, 10, 20, 30 degrees. And then just a little bit to the east, that's your moisture coming out of the Gulf screaming out. We're talking 60, 70 dews, and then 10, 20, 30 dews within the matter of miles. Look at this. Like, Texas, Oklahoma panhandle here. 5 miles to the east, you're dealing with 10-degree dews, or maybe more like 30-degree dews. And 10 miles to the east, you're getting like 60, 70 dews. So big time moisture environment difference there. And that is going to cause the focus, serious focus, that convergence like that. When those winds converge together, they get squeezed. So they have to go up into the atmosphere. That's going to cause thunderstorms to light up like a Christmas tree across Oklahoma, Kansas, and even some thunderstorms up there, maybe as far north as Nebraska. This is around Thursday night, around 8 p.m. You can see this low pressure system cranking around here in the southwestern parts of Kansas. And it's just, sitting there with that dry line swinging up. That moisture continues to feed in. That is the perfect setup when you have that southeast flow on underneath that southwest flow of the jet stream to cause circulation and thunderstorm development. And then as we get towards Friday, this thing swings out. Here it is right in the south central part of Nebraska, with that dry line coming right out, that moisture wrapping up and around it, where you see that focus is just to the east of this low pressure system, just to the northeast of that low. That's where your severe weather threat is going to be on Friday. So northeast Nebraska into Iowa, and maybe even the northeastern parts of Kansas. Now, you might be thinking, okay, there's moisture out here, but why aren't we going to get severe weather? Well, the dry line is still to the west. That's going to provide the focus for the thunderstorms. And so that's really the main reason. But you might get some leftover thunderstorms in Missouri through the day on Friday. Thursday morning, you can see this low pressure system really starting to crank up here for Oklahoma. just to the east, precipitation along that moist axis coming in. And look at this on the backside, that blue area, that is snow. There's a deep little bout of cold air on the backside of this low pressure system. It's winding up so strong that it's sucking cold air down from Canada with a high pressure system to the north. So western and central Colorado could get 6-12 inches of snow with this thing. As we head towards Thursday afternoon, this is when the severe thunderstorms could occur. We're talking all hazards, especially in Oklahoma and southern Kansas. Right there, those little dots you see, those are potentially some supercells. And you see these up to the north. The issue appears there's not going to be as much instability. So those will just be spotty showers and isolated thunderstorms. Rain out here in Colorado after an active day, Wednesday. And all hazards will be possible here. Damaging winds early on, potentially gorilla-size hail, as our friend Reed Timmer says here. So some big-time instability and hail there. And we also could potentially be seeing some long-track tornadoes. And as we head towards Friday afternoon here, this low-pressure system moves out into Nebraska. And eventually, you're going to start to see thunderstorms develop out in the wake of this thing. This particular model does not go that far out. But looking at the moisture and fronts, I do expect storms. You'll see storms blow up here and potentially even down there as we head towards Friday night. There is a couple of concerns with this setup. The first one is, here's your instability for Thursday. So this is measuring the speed of updrafts essentially in the atmosphere, the buoyancy, cold down or cold up above and warm down below. That's going to create that rising motion. You can see it in western Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, that little moist axis. That's where your best threat for severe weather is going to be. There's a little bit up here as well. It's maybe an isolated severe threat up there. And you'll notice the crossovers here, this 10 millibar wind, that's your surface winds, that's the red ones. They're coming out of the southeast. Up here at 500 millibars, those are your jet stream winds, or just below. Those are coming out of the southwest. Well, when you combine those two factors, that's going to create rotation or wind shear in the atmosphere. And then you add the speed component of that instability, and that's going to cause these vigorous corkscrew updrafts out in central Kansas and Oklahoma. So if you're in these areas, just you got to be prepared, get that weather radio out. This is looking like all hazards are possible. As we head towards Friday, this moves to the north. And so Friday, again, Nebraska, Iowa, parts of western Missouri and eastern Kansas will be in the gun on Friday. There's one concern that I have, though, in terms of the tornado potential that could make or break this setup, particularly for Kansas. If you look at the actual sounding here, there's a bit of a veered component. Now, what does that mean? Southeast winds at the surface, southwest winds coming out of the jet stream, but then they kind of go back down to the south again. That could cause some issues with the storm dynamics. You usually want these winds to circulate all the way from southeast to southwest up in the atmosphere and blow the precipitation away from the updraft. That could cause some venting issues. I looked at some other soundings that had more pronounced. So that'll be a potential failure mode for tornadoes, but still heavy hail, heavy rain, and heavy winds for Kansas. But that will be the thing that we want to watch. If those photographs are curved, there could be a big-time tornado potential in Kansas. Otherwise, looking at Oklahoma, it looks like northern Oklahoma, south-central Kansas, that'll be the hot spot for tornadoes tomorrow. But again, we're really watching this area near the low-pressure system. If the wind shear looks like it's going to be tornado conditions, that's going to be a really key area there in southwest Kansas. The pattern's going to change as well across the rest of the country. So we're going to take a look at the long range here. This is our little storm system ejecting out of the plains here Thursday and Friday. You can see that really weakens and kind of fizzles out. And this trough really begins to die out, and we get replaced by this ridging. Substantial expansion in the atmosphere out here in the west is going to cause a completely different pattern change here for mid-May and completely shut off the severe weather supply for much of mid-May. You can just see it just kind of sitting out there. That's going to cause the jet stream to dive into the East Coast And your severe weather threats are usually on the other side of the jet stream, the left side. And so that's just going to completely shut off the severe weather threat. There could be some decent rain potential for the southeast with some slow moving thunderstorms, but not a huge severe weather threat. As we head towards later in the month, you can see it just continues to build out there. Big time ridge. But I do think at the late part of the month, we will see another pattern change and this ridge will start to break down. There has been several consistent model runs of troughing starting to return towards after the 22nd or 25th or so. And this is a model plot of these pattern changes. This is the supercell composite, and you see these X's right here in bright colors. That essentially means the area of supercell composite across the United States, meaning several grid boxes are filled with this supercell composite, which means, you know, the conditions for supercells and severe weather. And you can see that gradually increases from now, which is the white line, to the end of the month and into June here, June 23rd. So this dead period is where this this ridge is going to be coming in, those blue areas, and the brighter colors are going to be where that pattern starts to pick up again. And it's been pretty darn consistent right after about May 22nd or 23rd of picking this pattern right back up. And it's been pretty darn consistent with having this big giant ridge through about the 22nd of May. And so I've planned actually my storm chase vacation out here around the 22nd or so into early June. And so we'll be doing some storm chasing live streaming around then. I've been really keeping an eye on that area. So that's looking like the pattern. And then if you look at the rainfall here, the next few days, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, all the way up to North Dakota, tons of rain with this system. 3 areas of 2 to 3 inches, maybe even 4 inches with this system. And then as we get towards the rest of the month here, or the rest of the next 2 weeks, you can see this really lights up. Again, outside of maybe the next couple of days in the plains, most of the rest of this rain is just going to be general thunderstorms or just general showers. And I do think the southeast is going to get several rounds of rain and embedded thunderstorms, but some pretty good precipitation amounts for the central parts of this country. And if you look at the snowfall amounts, yeah, with this first system, again, parts of Colorado, this might be slightly overdone. The models kind of have a tendency to do that early and late in the season, but up in the upper elevation, 6 to 12 inches or so, maybe a little bit more in a couple of areas in central Colorado, maybe even western Wyoming in those upper elevations. So pretty crazy weather pattern. Stay tuned for more updates. We're going to be having storm chasing updates, brand new graphics on this channel that I think you guys are going to really love, that will solve a lot of the problems that I've had with like people not being able to read the graphics and stuff like that. So whole new experience. Again, subscribe, like this video, share this with a friend, and we'll see you soon.